Welcome back. In the last video, we looked at Gemini inside Google Workspace, a generally available assistant that every licensed user shares. Enterprise agents are a completely different animal. These are the custom agents your teams are building on Gemini Enterprise Builder. Bespoke agents with their own instructions, their own sub-agents, their own data stores, and their own authority to act on internal systems. They pull from cloud storage, BigQuery, Cloud SQL, and third-party APIs. That power is exactly why they need the deepest governance layer Safe AI offers. In the next few minutes, I'll walk you through every page in this module, so you see how we turn an opaque fleet of agents into an observable, auditable, optimizable system. The executive dashboard is organized into 7 labeled sections: Overview, Adoption, Usage, ROI, Session Intelligence, Insights, and Recommended Actions, so an executive gets to their answer without scrolling past 30 unrelated widgets. The first section answers the 5 questions leadership actually asks. How many employees are using this? How many agents are live? How much traffic are they handling? What's that worth in dollars? And can we trust the answers these agents are giving? Each KPI also carries a week-over-week delta, so you're not just seeing a number. You're seeing whether it's getting better or worse. The second section tells you whether your AI investment is landing. The adoption funnel exposes exactly where users drop off. If they never run a first query, your onboarding is broken. If they never become power users, your agents aren't sticky enough. And directly beneath it, the license strip tells CFOs how many seats are being wasted and the exact monthly dollar figure you could save by reclaiming them. The third section shows you where your usage is concentrated. The activity trend tells you whether volume is climbing, plateauing, or collapsing. Agent usage surfaces the long tail of agents nobody's using. These are your consolidation or decommission candidates. And top users isolate the powers users you'll want as reference customers, while separating human traffic from service account automation so you're not mistaking a runaway script for the real adoption. The fourth section makes the ROI case in hard dollars. Total productivity value, hours saved, queries per session, with a breakdown showing which agents are generating the value. Next to it, cumulative growth lets you tell compounding adoption from a plateau that daily charts would miss, which is the difference between we should invest more and we should intervene. The fifth section goes past volume and into quality. Session quality tells you whether users are actually getting answers or bailing to humans. Conversation flow surfaces 2 silent problems: circular sessions where users are stuck asking the same thing over and over, and escalating sessions where risk levels are rising inside a single conversation, which is a security signal. And query complexity tells you whether users are trusting agents with harder work over time, a leading indicator of real adoption. The sixth section is a one-screen pulse. The questions most often asked, the last 5 interactions, and a security summary that tells you in one glance whether you have an active threat situation. Every number deep links, so suspicion becomes investigation in a single click. And the last section converts every insight above into a concrete to-do list, prioritized, rationalized, linked. Leadership doesn't leave this page with numbers to interpret. They leave with decisions to make. Agent Network answers the most asked audit question in one picture. What does this agent actually touch? You're seeing every user, every agent, every method call, and every data source connected by the real traffic flowing between them. 4 view modes let you pick the right lens for the question you're asking. Topology for structure, flow for tracing a query end to end, cards for a quick triage, tree for a hierarchical drill down. Hovering an agent instantly lights up every user hitting it upstream and every data store it's reading downstream. The answer to who's talking this agent and what can I see in under a second. Without this view, that question takes hours of log digging. Clicking any agent opens a 4-tab investigation panel. Its configuration, every conversation it's handled, every security event it's touched, every data source it's grounded in. It collapses what would normally be 5 separate tools into one workspace, and right-click on any node, deep link straight into the tab you need. Usage and ROI is the dashboard finance asks for, and every row is draggable, so each leader builds the view they care about. The first row answers what this investment is worth: productivity value in dollars, hours saved, and an ROI index dividing value by cost. One row, one answer to is this paying for itself? Next, satisfaction. An overall NPS score plus a per agent breakdown. This tells you which agents to double down on and which ones to rebuild, instead of treating the fleet as one average number that hides the real signal. Next, an adoption trend with a forecast line, so you know if next quarter's volume will hit target before it's too late to intervene, and a query complexity distribution. When complex and export queries grow, that's the strongest signal that users are trusting these agents with real work, not just toy prompts. The heat map exposes usage patterns by day and hour. The business value is the anomalies. A 3 a.m. Saturday spike is either a power user that deserves a trophy or a runaway automation. The license optimization tells you whether you are ready to expand or drop down your user licenses. And the bottom chart shows how value is distributed across the fleet over time, revealing which 2 or 3 agents are carrying your ROI. Screenshot worthy for board decks and actionable for budget reallocation. Users is where dollars turn into people. The segment classification turns your whole user base into action lists: who to celebrate, who to intervene on, and whose licenses to reclaim. Instead of guessing who's a power user, the engagement score is transparent. Every segment card shows exactly what threshold it represents, which means when a VP asks, "Why is my team flagged at risk?" you have a defensible answer. The table makes every dimension of a user a sortable column, and the per user dollar value column lets HR defend or challenge the business case for individual users or teams. Clicking any user opens a full profile. Every conversation they've had, every threat their activity triggered, the ROI they're personally generating, and any compliance violations attributed to them. For incident response, this turns was this user responsible for a prompt injection spike from a week-long investigation into a 10-second lookup. Knowledge gaps is where your agents tell you what they can't answer. Detected automatically from low grounding, escalations, and explicit fallbacks. The business value. Every gap represents a real demand going unmet, which is a direct roadmap for what to improve next. The KPIs on top show how your team is performing against those gaps, how many are open, how fast you're closing them, and your overall coverage percentage. The trend line exposes spikes, which usually line up with product launches or policy changes the agents haven't caught up to, giving you an early warning before users give up the agent entirely. The gaps table is the backlog. Every row expands to show real example queries and suggested remediation. For instance, Add BigQuery's customer schema to the financial advisor agent. You can assign a worker right from the table, which turns this from a passive analytics view into an actual governance workflow with accountability. Intent analysis answers a different question. Not what didn't the agent know, but what are people actually trying to do with these agents? The answer drives product strategy. If 60% of queries are data retrieval, but you're investing roadmap time in content generation, you're building the wrong thing. The radar shows intent distribution across 12 categories. A balanced shape means broad, healthy adoption. A spiky shape means everyone's using agents for one thing, which is either a focused use case or a sign that other capabilities are being ignored and need promotion. The intent by agent view exposes redundancy. If two agents are both handling 50% document search, you have consolidation opportunity. One fewer agent to maintain, one fewer access surface to audit. This is where fleet rationalization decisions come from. And the table below ranks intent by volume and success rate with a trend arrow. So you can tell which use cases are growing, which are declining, and which agents are best at each one. That's direct input into which agents to extend, which to retire, and which to benchmark against. Conversations is the forensic surface for investigators. Every interaction is searchable, filterable, and ties back to its full context, which is what you need when a board member asks me, show me every time this agent discussed our acquisition, and they expect an answer in a minute, not a week. The filters are designed around real investigation workflows. Filter by conversation flow to isolate escalations, by complexity to find expert queries worth auditing, by grounding to triage hallucination risk. Flipping the page to just poorly grounded conversations is the fastest way to find where your agents are inventing answers. The detail panel gives you everything an investigator needs in one place. The full transcript, the threats detected, the sources the agent cited, and the compliance frameworks the interaction maps to. What used to require stitching together 3 separate tools becomes a single view. The threats page is your security operations view for AI agents. The top summary tells you at a glance whether you have an active incident broken out by the 4 attack classes that matter: prompt injection and jailbreaks, bulk data exfiltration, sensitive data probes, and contamination from untrusted external sources. One look and you know whether to escalate or not. Risk users gives every user a composite risk score with the reasoning exposed: severity of threats, off-hours activity, multi-agent attempts, failed attempt patterns. The reasoning matters because security teams can't act on a score they can't explain. Here they can. Injection patterns turn raw attack traffic into intelligence. Each card is a real detected attack family with its block rate, telling you at a glance which attacks your agents are defending against and which are getting through. Expand it, and you get real example payloads, which feed directly back into prompt hardening. It's a closed loop between detection and defense. The Sankey answers the attribution question every security team starts with. Where is this coming from? It traces every threat back to its origin user and forward to the agent and severity it produced. At one glance, you see whether you have one bad actor or a systematic problem, and which agent is absorbing the attack pressure, which tells you what to patch first. Clicking any threat gives you the complete incident picture: the query, the classification, the agent's response, the sources it touched, Google Model Armor's analysis if configured, and every piece of metadata an investigator needs to write up the finding. Instead of pulling data from 5 tools, you have one pane of glass with everything needed to triage and close the ticket. Enterprise agents have real identities on Google Cloud, service accounts, impersonation chains, and access to data stores they may or may not be supposed to read. Access management finds the overprivileged agents before your auditors do. The headline score tells you in one number how exposed your agent fleet is. Findings are grouped by what you need to do about them. IAM surfaces agents and service accounts with too much permission, including impersonation chains, the who can eventually act as whom graph auditors always ask for. Configuration drift catches unauthorized changes to your agents. A silent model swap, an instruction edit that broadens scope, a new data store attached without review. Risk assessment flags overly permissive prompts and sensitive data exposure. And data access catches shadow access. Agents reading data their identity wasn't meant to see. Together, these are the 4 categories of agent security incidents, and they're all caught automatically. Every finding carries a concrete remediation recommendation with the evidence interaction that triggered it. So you're not just told what's wrong, you're shown why and given exactly what to do. Marking items acknowledged or remediated with notes turns this page into the security team's actual remediation queue, not just a static report. Source Intelligence answers a question most teams don't realize they should be asking. Where are your agents getting their answers from? The summary tells you how often your agents cite anything at all, how grounded responses are, and how much of that grounding is coming from external sources that haven't been vetted. The breakdown shows whether your agents are grounded in your own enterprise data, your BigQuery, your cloud storage, your databases, or wandering off to public web services. A heavy tilt towards external sources is a compliance risk and a trust problem. Click any category to drill into which specific sources dominate. The source directory is the audit answer to what external domains is our AI reading from. An unknown external domain with a heavy citation count is exactly the signal you need. It might be a competitor's blog, a non-authoritative Wikipedia page, or something worse, and this is where you'd find it before it ends up in an executive response. Agent registry is your complete inventory. Every enterprise agent, its status, its traffic, its model, its data stores, and its quality score in one view. The answer to how many AI agents do we actually have and which ones are healthy, a question most organizations can't answer today. Clicking any agent gives you the full audit file, configuration history, performance trend, every conversation, every threat, every source, all in one view. The answer to how many AI agents do we actually have and which ones are healthy. Everything a compliance review or post-incident forensic needs in one place. This is the evidence pack your auditor will ask for pre-built. The audit log is the forensic record. Every interaction, every agent change, every user action. The value isn't that it exists. Every SIEM has logs. The value is that it's searchable by exactly the dimensions an investigator needs: user, agent, severity, intent, detection category. So a question like show me every PII detected interaction on the finance agent in the last week is answered in seconds. Encrypted events can be decrypted inline by authorized rules, and that privileged read is itself audit logged. Every interaction also maps automatically to compliance controls, so a single PII detected event surfaces as evidence for SOC2 CC 6.1 and GDPR 5.1b without anyone hand tagging it. Compliance evidence that used to take weeks to assemble now builds itself. Compliance shows every framework you care about. SOC2, HIPAA, GDPR, NIST, ISO, FedRAMP, PCI DSS, CIS, with the current score and pass-fail breakdown. You know where you stand before your auditor shows up, not after. The detail view gives you the full evidence trail. Pass-fail per control, every violation with severity, and affected entities, and direct links to the audit events supporting each finding. The custom framework wizard lets you codify your own internal controls. If threat severity is critical and PII is detected, then violation. And Backfull Scan reevaluates historical data the moment you enable a new framework, so you can answer how long have we been compliant the day you're asked. Settings is where you anchor the dashboard in your reality. The ROI inputs, minutes saved per query, hourly cost, license cost, mean every dollar figure in the product is based on your numbers, not hours. So ROI becomes defensible in a board meeting. Scheduled digests push those numbers into executive inboxes weekly or monthly, so governance isn't something someone has to remember to check. That is the full Google Gemini Enterprise Agents module. One coherent governance story with an answer for every question leadership, security, and compliance actually asks. Is adoption landing? Is the investment paying off? Can we trust what these agents are saying? Who's attacking them? Are they overprivileged? Where are they getting their answers? What are we on the hook for when the auditor arrives? Every one of those questions now has a page, a metric, and a remediation path. Finally, as like all other models, the Gemini Enterprise model is available as pure SaaS and on-prem deployment. In the next video, we leave the sanctioned world entirely. Shadow AI, browser activity, and endpoint detection. Thanks for watching.